I just finished replacing the lower control arm bushings in this Honda Element, and I thought I'd make a quick video to show you what is involved. If your car is making noise under braking, making noise when you're driving down the road, chances are this bushing right here is deteriorated or destroyed. On this car, this is the new one, but on this car, the old one, it was completely separated. This was floating free. There was no connection between the control arm and the body of the car. The lower control arm is held on by two 19mm bolts, one here and one back there. You'll probably need a breaker bar to get those off. I use the ratchet handle with the extension on my jack. This sway bar is held on by a 14mm nut on the drop link. There is a ball joint here that's held on by an 18mm nut and this little pin. Do not destroy this pin when you take it out. It comes off very easily. You just pull one side out and then it slides out. It's super easy to take off. When you see it, you'll understand. You'll need to separate the ball joint from the control arm, and there's two ways to do that. One is with a traditional pickle fork like this. Put a little grease or oil on there before you do it, and you may minimize the chance of destroying that boot that covers the ball joint, but chances are you'll destroy the boot if you use this. The other method is with the ball joint remover like this. These are a little more tricky to use. I seem to have more trouble with them, but it's worth the effort to use this. And how you use this is take the nut off, flip it upside down, and then screw it on so that the bolt is coming through just so you've got this nice big flat surface for that to hit on, and then you won't destroy either the threads on the ball joint or the nut. When using the ball joint separator like this, usually what I'll do is I'll get it nice and tight, and I'll usually have to whack it a little bit, hit the control arm with a hammer, hit this with a hammer a few times, then it'll pop off. When you've got the control arm off, what you'll do is you will take this control arm, unless you have a press in your home shop, you'll take this to a auto repair shop or a machine shop and have them press in the new bushing. Press out the old one and press in the new one. And when they're doing that, you need to make sure that the bushing is clocked properly. It matters how it goes back in the car. You can see this one is the hard rubber's over here, there's a space, and then hard rubber over there, and that's how it needs to be done. You use the old bushing as a reference before they push it out. When you get the control arm back from the shop that pressed in the new bushing, going back in is pretty simple. You'll just fit it back in, put your 19mm bolt back in here. Up here, this one I found is a little tight because it's a new bushing, so it's going to be a little bit less compliant. So you may have to whack it a little bit to get it into place. You know, hitting on the control arm and fiddling with it to get it go back in. The ball joint on the bottom, here is a little trick for putting ball joints back together. Jack up the car by the control arm. So normally if you put a ball joint back together and you put the nut on, it'll spin the whole thing when you try and tighten it. But if you jack up the car by the control arm, so you've got all the weight on the car on that ball joint, it'll tighten up that ball joint and you can put that nut on and it won't spin. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. But I think if you've got the tools, you should be able to do this job without any issues.